The mayor has called a meeting to order. Vice Mayor Kaplan.
Here.
Councilmember De La Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway. Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here.
Councilmember London. Councilmember Tainter.
Here.
We do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. With us this evening to give an invocation, we have Reverend Juan Carlos Paguaga from St. Agnes Catholic Church. Please stand.
Loving and gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts, and we come together this day to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions we make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Give us insight to lead with integrity, that our decisions may reflect what is right and good. Keep us from short-sightedness and pettiness. Help us to make decisions that strive to be for the good of all, and guard us from blind self-interest. Finally, dear God, grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say. All glory be to you, loving God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please have a seat.
First item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, is brief comments by council.
I don't have any comments. I think we will leave it for discussion items.
Okay,
Okay.
so then we'll go to special introduction. Beach Club report by former Vice Mayor Michael Davey. Go Mets.
Let's go Mets. Thank you very much.
I think they win.
They went. Hey, we got there, man. We played in November, my first baseball game in November. Mike Davey, 50 Ocean Lane Drive, giving a report to council on the Beach Club. Let me start off. I just gave you all the deed that was recorded back in 1955. We're still trying to determine what it exactly says. I apologize for the print, but this is the best we got. If you turn to page 2, that's the relevant section that we're going to be dealing with today. When we started this project, my goal was always to ensure that the beach club remained for the use of our residents. I was afraid that if we left it alone, we would have a private beach club there that would exclude our members and potentially become just another, exclusive place that our people couldn't get in unless they were going to pony up $50,000 and whatever it was a month. So after some due diligence and finally getting the deeds and all, Steve got these for us, or Lucho, somebody got them for us. So we get this deed, and if you go to the top of the second page, it says that the lands above described shall only be used by the grantee, that's the owner, its successors and assigns, as in for a private beach and recreation area, for the benefit of the owners and occupants of their guests of properties in Tract 1, and then it lists a number of sections of development tracts over on the west side of the island. My understanding is that, and I haven't done the full analysis, my understanding is it's most of the homes that are east of Harbor Drive, west of Fernwood, south of Harbor Drive, and north of either West Mashta or north of West Mashta. So that's my understanding as to what homes are covered by this. I may be off by a little bit, but that's my understanding. So those homes, essentially in perpetuity, have the right to utilize that land as a private club, which is good news in a way, because that means that they have to be offered an opportunity to use it in the future. The concern is now that, well, what happens if somebody comes in and puts a private club and tells these people that they have the right to access, but it's going to be $100,000 per unit? That's really not a government job. That's really going to be between the owners and the owner of the land to determine, are you treating us fairly or not? That's not something we can get into. We're not going to be protecting that. I understand at the last meeting there was some discussion about taking the land as well as taking out the beach club. That was never what I wanted to do. I don't want to foreclose or eminent domain our neighbors and our friends. I don't think that's certainly not what I intended. When Jim and I met with the beach club people, we told them that wasn't going to be our goal. We wanted to get the underlying land as sort of a land trust for the benefit of the residents. But if this is going to start a war between residents, I'd rather just table the idea and move on. You know, at some point, maybe we can visit buying the land from Ameriprise. We can continue to discuss with them. Maybe if their current, the person currently in charge moves on, we can actually get somebody we can talk to, and we can move this forward. But I just don't see this. I am against any move to take the land if the beach club opposes it. I'm against anything that would require us taking action against all of the homes that are over here. And from what I understand from our attorney, if we're going to eminent domain the current owner, we're also going to have to bring an action against approximately 700 houses over on the west side of the island. That's prohibitively expensive, and I don't want that. I don't want to do that to people. I think you guys should have a conversation as to how you want to proceed. But at this time, I think I would like to move beyond any sort of eminent domain. I was in favor of eminent domaining the property, the interest of somebody who's outside the key, but I'm not in favor of bringing an action in which we're going to start requiring our residents to have to defend themselves or get in a fight. And I can tell you, I was at the Ritz on Saturday night. I had a pretty tough time getting a drink from Gino because he'd read The Islander. So if we could just move this in the right direction, I'd appreciate it. Any questions?
You had to sing Lola?
What's that? Yes, we did. We got to sing Lola, but then he saw me and started on what we'd been talking about. And I told him, because I was the one with Jim there, I was the one who communicated to Gino that we weren't going to eminent domain the beach club. We weren't trying to knock the beach club out. That was not, the initial goal of this was not to take the beach club out. If we could talk about working with the beach club in the future, that's one thing. But to say we're going to knock them out, and that got his back up. And I don't blame him. I think he got nervous about that.
Mike, thank you very much for your service. Thank you for looking into this. Thank you for your hard work. And you were on this from the beginning. You certainly at the time, and you knew what the will of the council was and what the direction was. Thank you for seeing this through. I very much appreciate it.
You are welcome.
One question.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim, and then Frank. I'm sorry. No, okay.
Mike, my concern was that the deed restriction, as you said, is only for those interior original Mackle properties. It leaves out a good chunk of other houses in Cape Florida or Holiday Colony and so forth, and leaves out all the condos and so forth. So that was my concern. And when you and I originally talked about this, after council directed us to, when we were talking to the beach club, our thoughts were that, we would get hold of the land, and then when the lease expired,
Right.
at that stage of the game, the owners of those all interior lots, their membership fees or dues or whatever would expire,
Right.
So we were talking about the beach club, as far as the village is concerned, once the lease expired, which is what, 2000?
36 years from now, I think.
Yeah, right, exactly, a long time ago. The key was to get control of the land.
Correct.
And I still think that we need to do that. I don't want to sue all these property owners, but, the deed is for the lot,
Correct.
and those lots have changed as far as owners go. So, Steve, can we do a John Doe type without having to research every?
I think you'd have to name everybody who has a lot. I mean, you have the specificity. Steve can tell you, but you have specificity as to what areas would be covered.
Okay.
Maybe not.
I'm still struggling a little bit into understanding what it is that we're trying to accomplish. If you want to own the fee because you think there is a valid public purpose for acquiring the fee, which really has no possessory rights for the next 36 years. So then we can pursue that, and we can try to voluntarily acquire it, which is required by the condemnation law anyway. And if you're not successful, we could, through an eminent domain proceeding, pursue acquiring the fee. Now, so basically now you become the landlord, okay? So I don't know whether they've already prepaid their rent or you get the dollar a year, but we become the landlord there for the next 36 years, if you have no desire in taking possession, okay? And 36 years from now, when the lease expires, you own the property, free and clear of the tenant, but you, the village, don't necessarily have the right to open it up to the public, because this deed restriction sits on the property with you as the owner also. So you would have to then open it up and operate it only for a private beach and recreation area for these particular residents on the island. So now what happens is now you become the landlord and provide a private beach for only a small group or larger group of your residents. If that's I don't know the purpose of that. I don't know what you're accomplishing by being the landlord to 500 people who have a private beach that you are watching over for them. Okay?
And I
So-
think that's what's changed from what our initial understanding
Correct.
was.
We did know
Was
about
the
it.
idea that we could do that for 36 years, but at the end of that 36
Correct.
years
Right.
period, we'd be able to open it up to the community.
Exactly, and so
And
when
now
we
we
came
know-
to you at the
now we know
budget
that we
time,
can't.
what we did is we came to you at budget time and said, whoa, wait a minute, not so fast. You don't need to go buy this fee so fast, because it may not be accomplishing what you want, because now you're just gonna end up being the landlord for 36 years, and thereafter, you'll be the caretaker of the property for the benefit of a select group of homeowners. So don't put money away this year yet to go buy this.
One quick point, just to clarify before Lucho starts.
Well, we've got Frank and then
I'm sorry, the reason, because right now, the beach club has the right, anybody who owns property in Key Biscayne can become a member of the beach club. That they changed, I don't know when they changed their charter, but it was a while ago. But I think, as has been pointed out, that's because the lease they have predates this deed. So that's the explanation for that. So I just wanted that clarifying point in there.
Frank and then Luis.
I don't want to, we had a very full conversation on this the other week. I don't want to revisit the whole thing. I think we got to a point, or at least I got to a point, which is a little bit of a quibble with one of your suppositions, which is that the redevelopment, the foreseeable redevelopment of the property to create a ritzy private club, it's foreseeable. And I wish to protect against that if it's possible to do so. The way to do that is to acquire the land. And I'm not prepared to concede that there is no solution to maintaining current status quo in 36 years from now. I don't know why we can't simply extend the lease forever and continue either status quo under the lease with the broader membership that the lease confers, or frankly, whatever else the beach club wants to do. That could include some improvements. My own view is it's lovely and we shouldn't do too much to it. But, you know, the worry is, and the reason that I didn't like the decision to simply ignore this potentiality 36 years from now, is because this will become the Grand Bay Club, I think.
Luis.
Yeah, I agree with Frank. I think that, first, I don't think anybody here spoke about taking the beach club memberships. I don't know how that got out anywhere, but no one here that I know of was talking about foreclosing against the beach club itself.
Maybe it was Ed.
Well, I may.
Ed's not here, so let's not throw him under the.
I don't want to blame it on him, but I mean, whatever. I mean, for sure, that's not our intent. So, not our intent. But I do agree with Frank, first, that, very possibly, who knows, that lease may have provisions for extension. So if we were to, we haven't never seen the lease. That's our biggest problem, you know. We really don't know when it expires. We're saying 36 years, but I mean, we don't know that. I mean, who told us that? So, you know, I've always been wanting to just see the lease because the people at the Key Biscayne Beach Club, which I happen to be 2 members of, have to understand that no one here wants to take anything from the Beach Club members. And what we would like to do is see that lease to see if there's a way that we could hopefully somehow purchase the underlying fee and maybe extend that lease in perpetuity. I don't know, you know, I mean, add 10-year increments to it, you know, whatever makes sense, you know, before it gets more expensive. Because see, the thing is, right now, that land could be very cheap. But as closer it gets to the expiration of that lease, whenever that lease happens to expire, it will become much more expensive.
But the hurdle appears to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the hurdle appears to be that we would have to extinguish the rights of those people over there.
No, not really. I mean, we could buy it with the restriction. We could buy it with the restriction, you know,
Sure.
you know, and
But that's what you.
no one complains.
Why would we do that?
Well, for now, okay? For now. We buy it with that restriction for now. Then, once we have it,
That's, for Ed and I, that was a non-starter. Because that was a non-starter
Okay.
for the village to get in the business of buying a private club and operating it and leasing it to a private company for the benefit of a minority of Key Biscayne's residents.
but it's not a minority, it's all the Key Biscayne residents.
Any owner.
Member, yeah.
No, any owner of real property in Key Biscayne. It's not just the home.
Any owner of Key Biscayne,
You can own a
Key Biscayne
condo,
property
you
can
can own
become a member of the
anything.
Beach
It's-
Club.
But, you know, that's,
They gotta buy into it, though.
Right.
they gotta be a member of the Beach Club,
Right.
which is what that's
And I
been the
don't think-
case
I don't
always.
think a majority of owners, of residents on Key Biscayne want that option. If they did, they'd already be there.
Right, so,
And they're not doing it, so why should the village be buying it when the voters have already voted with their pocketbook saying, I'm not interested in being a member of that
Well,
club?
this is a policy decision.
yeah,
You know,
it's something that we all have to decide. I think it's a vote will have to be taken at some
It seems to me
point.
there's a couple things. One, if there was really an interest of the ownership of the beach club to preserve their beach club in 36 years for fear of what may happen 36 years from now, they'd all be coming here and asking us to do this. That doesn't seem to be happening. And the other thing is that when you get up to the 36-year range, they're still gonna have this interest that if somebody wants to come in and operate it and charge a giant fee, at that point, they may come to us and say, hey, why don't you eminent domain this so we don't get screwed by this new developer that wants to build this Grand Bay Club?
Because it'll be worth a whole lot more money
But
at
they
that
still
particular
may, well,
time.
that's their problem.
I understand.
That's not your problem.
I understand that that's your position. We have different positions, we have difference of opinion.
So
and I
you
think
wanna look out for somebody who's not even asking you to look out for them?
No, I'm always
So
looking,
that-
I'm always,
so that
always,
36 years from now, they won't have an issue with a potential Grand Bay Club developer. That's what
I
we
don't-
wanna do.
I don't
only
put
looking
the
after
question quite that
the
way.
interest of the village of Key
But how,
Biscayne, always.
I've
Okay,
yet
so-
to hear
Okay.
how it's in the interest of the village of Key Biscayne, the village speaking collectively, how is it in the interest of the village of Key Biscayne?
I understand
Okay.
you don't understand it, I understand that, you've said it.
Actually,
many
Theo,
times.
please.
If, I don't live in the homes, and I would like to be a member in 36 years of the beach club. How is the village going to help me as a resident of the east side make that a possibility? Now, under the potential proposition Luis has, if the beach club extends their current agreement, I may be able to buy in and maintain my
Why don't you
membership.
buy in now?
I am. I'm saying if I buy in now, in 36 years, my membership
You
expires.
should buy in now and organize a subcommittee within the beach club to come before us and say, hey, we need help with the problem that potentially faces our private club.
Here's why I'm focused on the Beach Club. It's a historic, iconic property. It's on the beach. There is no other beach club. And if we lose it to a Grand Bay, I think we'd regret it, albeit 36 years from now. You're talking about this, talk to the Beach Club. Let's hear what they want to do. But I think this is a worthy issue.
Okay, I think we can talk to them. I think that's a valid point. Let's see.
I don't think there's a lot of potential virtue for the island as well. I think there's something that potentially this council could help this private club with. That's the way I see this issue. And the problem isn't gonna happen for 36 years, which doesn't make it seem that immediate.
Yeah, it's not an immediate threat.
Jim?
Two things. We can protect the beach club buildings by declaring them historical properties. And secondly, I kind of agree with Lewis. I'd like to see what that lease actually says. Hopefully, the beach club will allow one of its members, i.e. Lewis, to, read it and see what's in there, and then we can go from there as
I
to,
think that's a great idea.
Let's go from there.
okay?
So I need to, I'm glad we're having this discussion because I have begun the process of giving you the evaluation that you asked for last time, which was how do we acquire the current present interest in that club to operate a public beach club? You want me to stop that, correct?
I'm sorry, say,
Okay.
To
Well,
take over the beach club?
The direction that I got last time was to provide the necessary information and the legal process by which the village could acquire the property to presently begin a beach club use activity. Not in 36 years, but what would it take now
for
to?
the village to run and operate a facility over on that piece of land.
Yes.
I don't think that's what we're.
It was never my intent for that to be the case, so, I mean.
Okay, so then, that's what I thought my direction was.
I recognize that I thought
Yeah.
you were confused, and we had a.
Okay. Well, I don't,
It doesn't matter, just.
yeah, so I need to, if that's not the direction that you're looking at, if you have no interest in the,
Can't take you anywhere.
I don't know that we're there yet, Steve.
okay.
I don't know that we're there yet. I think that's a policy decision that we need to make. We're not there yet. In the meantime,
Get the
I-
Okay.
Getting a copy of the lease is the most
a
important.
copy of the lease, again,
Somehow.
this is not hostile. This is just as, as Luis very eloquently stated, it's about protecting the interest of the village and the residents and having that access. Right now, it's, pretty extensive, even though it's private, but possibly maintaining that beach access for the residents, which is important to everyone.
I think as an official issue, though, former Councilman Davy has
Sunsetted.
sunsetted.
Yes.
And that we really don't need the village attorney doing more research on this issue. And if Councilman De La Cruz wants to, study the lease and bring back other potential issues that would be of interest to this council, we're always happy to listen to those. But I don't
Absolutely.
think we're really heading in any particular direction right now with regards to the beach.
Fair enough.
But should we task our attorney to try to obtain the lease? I
No,
think
at least
that's-
Lucho can go over there and get it from Mike.
I'm probably gonna have better
He's a
chance
member.
than he is.
But, yeah,
Okay,
I don't know why
go.
they're,
Get it.
I mean, they might be nice enough to give it to me, but if somebody's a member, they have a right to the lease.
Yeah, he'll get it tomorrow.
Well, good. There we go. Thank you so very much.
Thanks,
You're
Mike.
welcome. Let's go Rangers.
You weren't this efficient when you were up here.
I was bored, after watching you guys, so,
Next item of the mayor is drug awareness.
Sure.
Mayor and council, I've asked the fire chief and the police chief to give a bit of an overview on a very, very sensitive, but I also believe very timely issue that's occurring in this community. It does have to do with drug awareness. It does have to do with our young people, and I would like for the two chiefs to give an overview of what they've been dealing with for the last almost year, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the last year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Not the best news tonight that we have to bring before you. Very concerning news, actually. And it evolves around a trend that myself and Chief Lang have been seeing pretty much close to the last year. Something that we've seen from afar by looking at this problem on a national level, but it's within our confines now, and that is a tremendous upsurge in alcohol overdose and narcotic overdose on the island here by our young people. specifically 21 and younger, some as young as 13 years old, some we've actually lost along the way in the past due to these overdoses. And with that revelation and having these discussions, we chose to bring it to the public and try and find some way to reach our children and reach our parents and identify the problem, give them facts and figures that don't allow for second guessing or it can't be happening here on the Key, and literally raising awareness in both the negative connotations, how to assist families whose children are having these issues, how to provide better guidance to parents on why some of these issues are happening, et cetera. So we reached out and we had a meeting with the PTA 2 weeks ago at the K-8, and it was a very large turnout and about 2.5 hours of some very hardcore discussion back and forth with parents bringing about information that was startling if you're not used to hearing that there's kids in the K-8 that are selling pot, that their kids are coming home and saying they know John or Jane who are doing drugs and they're 12 years old, they're 13, they're 14 years old. The alcohol overdoses have been really hardcore. I mean, we're finding these kids passed out in the streets, passed out on the beach. So the bottom line is this: we want to do a multifaceted effort to promote change in Key Biscayne, to promote information sharing. As part of that, on my part, I have developed a anonymous tip line that will not be answered by any person. It actually goes directly to my phone and my phone only. And I would take this information, whatever people want to give me anonymously, and we would do an investigation based on whether we could do something with the info or not, to maybe attack some of the dealers that we have here on the Key. And the key to this being that it is anonymous 100% and that nobody has to reveal who it was. And Eric came up with some other really great ideas. We're going to be having this Monday night a town hall meeting that we expect several hundred people to show up at. And that's going to be at St. Agnes at 7 o'clock Monday night. And we're putting that out through all of our sources, whether it's Village Connect, VINs, websites, et cetera. The schools are putting out this flyer, and they're promoting parents to show up. And I'll turn it over to Eric. He's going to talk a lot more or briefly about what we're going to try and do on that night and how we want to move forward, because this is a long-term effort. This is not just have a meeting and walk away. We want to do several things here. So,
Chief, what's going on? Is this a combination of drinking and drugs that's new, or is it a different kind of drug?
well, we're dealing a lot with the opiates now. Heroin is no longer a lower-class drug. It is 100% a middle-class drug. It's attractive to professionals. It's cheap. Many years ago, when I was a narcotics cop, if you caught a heroin dealer, that was one of the biggest deals in the world because it was going at $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 for a kilo. Now it's dirt cheap. And they're cutting it into all different ways. They're preparing it in candy form. It's amazing what's going on out there with these opiates. And it all really blossomed when the Chinese pipeline started coming out here and being able to ship this stuff under the table, when we had the pill mills that were giving oxycodone, Oxycontin, and any other derivative by the bagfuls to anybody who would take it. The alcohol problem seems to be worse than I've seen it. I would say that there's more opportunity for these children to have alcohol than I've seen in the past. But when you're talking about heroin and cocaine, you're talking about kids dying. And that's why this really raised 100 red flags for us. And we want to hit this problem head on.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. Thank you, chief. A scary topic, there's no question about it. I can tell you that I've had parents come up to me, says, we're hearing your message, and there's a lot of rumors out there about what we've talked about. So just to clarify, we looked at 3 areas. We primarily looked at the under 30 category, and my focus is under 21. We had our community outreach person look into the data, and what we discovered was we had 26 alcohol and drug-related, in addition to suicides, this year. That number is alarming when you look at year over year, what our stats are, and we're up 200% in that category. So the hard numbers are we were running about 10, and we're looking at about 26. How do we know it's opiates, which is heroin-based, oxycodones, and pills? There's a drug called Narcan, and Narcan is an anti-opiate, and it reverses the effects. And we've had, unfortunately, too many successes when we administer this drug. And so there's a number of other calls that we're suspicious of, and we're making sure that we're trying to communicate with the parents to say, look, if your kid is 17 years old and falls down, 17-year-old kids don't fall down. 17-year-old kids don't stop breathing. 20-year-old kids don't go into cardiac arrest for no reason. And over the summer, I've heard the calls go out and seen too many reports that that's happened, and it's been happening. Chief Press and I got together, and so the bottom line is we're championing this cause together as a community. We can't do it alone as a fire department or police department or council or one person. It's going to take coaches and parents and kids. We've had discussions we're partnered already with the Principals Coalition under the Key Biscayne Community Foundation. We partnered with the PTAs. We've talked, I've had some families volunteer their living rooms to have small group sessions. And we're calling to action everybody. And we want to not just make an awareness campaign, but have a discussion about it. And the call to action is if you see something, do something. So if you see some kids not acting right, well, give Chief Preston, his men and women a call, and they'll come out and check it out. If kids are hearing things in the schools, they need to talk to their parents about it, and their parents need to reach out to the hotline, to the police department directly. And if your kids aren't acting normal, we're going to set up those resources here that we can refer them out to places that can get them help. So with that, hopefully we'll see you on Monday night. You're welcome to come. And the one thing that we hope to address is not just what's going on, but how to deal with the problem if you find drugs in your kid's bag or one of their friends are too high. How do you address those issues? And I think the community is looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you very much. Oh, Jim, yes.
Chief, if you could come back up. You know, y'all are referring to illegal drugs, which of course is a police matter. That includes marijuana.
Correct.
The other side of the coin, of course, is the alcohol. Have y'all, or are you going to reach out to the merchants here on the Key that dispense alcohol, whether it be beer or wine or liquor, to perhaps better enforce carding these kids that are buying this stuff to make sure that they're of the proper age? Because, you know, especially, you know, at the yacht club, I see these kids coming in with cases of beer. You know, I know, excuse the expression, I know that a lot of the kids are not of age. Someone's buying it for them.
Right.
You know, and we know it goes on at the Master Flats, and, you know, I think some of what you're describing is a carryover from that. So is there any way we can get our merchants to help us in this situation? Because I agree, it's a problem.
I can tell you that that we're doing things that I would not want to publicly discuss, but they've already been put into place. I've had meetings with entities in the last 2 weeks, and we will see some actions taken. I can also assure the community that I'm not looking to put a kid who's walking around with a joint or is smoking a joint through the system. That is not our intent.
Right.
It's a totally different story when you have somebody who's selling narcotics to kids. That's something, if they're juveniles themselves, I will actively place them through the jack. But for a person who is using, who is carrying something, if they're juveniles, it's a civil citation where they at least have to go before a magistrate in the juvenile section of the county. And the magistrate recommends programs and things like that where the parents can get help. The drug court in Miami-Dade County is very focused on rehabilitation and assisting with what they call, even though they say it's a victimless crime, there are millions of victims who end up getting hooked on these narcotics and on alcohol all the time. So they're dealing with it in that respect. They're developing programs and they're trying to help people at the same time that we're going after the dealers and the people who are putting this out to our kids and our residents. So I would hope that would ease the parents' anxiety levels in talking to us and feeling like they can talk to me and talk to our officers about things without, and ending up hanging their kids and putting their kids through the system. Not our intent.
Chief Press and Chief Lang, again, thank you very much for bringing this to our community's attention. I'm certain I speak on behalf of the council. I tell you, this is a priority for us. Our children and our families are a priority. We need to do whatever it takes to make sure that children do not take this route, that families are well informed, that families feel that they have options and resources and a place to ask questions. I know that I've been approached by families. They don't know what to do. They are not educated on what actions to take. I think your hotline is a very good idea. I thank you for doing that. I also think that our children need something to do. Opiates, and this has reached Key Biscayne now, but it's been happening nationwide. I know that Boston has been hit very heavily. Unfortunately, we are a community where people feel very safe. People give their children a lot of latitude. They have disposable income, not as much supervision. I think there's a false sense of security. So we are, targets. But we also need to be able to give the kids something to do so that they are, as one of my neighbors said, not Team Xbox, and they're actually out and they have, whether it's basketball. I know you and I spoke about a night basketball league or flag football that we discussed the other day. We need to have productive and outlets for our older teenagers. They don't have that here.
You've nailed it on the head in everything that you've said. And idle minds, we know the saying, devil's workshop. And when you have money and you have time and you have a lack of supervision, kids are going to be kids and bad things are going to happen, unfortunately. So we know where we're going. We appreciate your support. It means everything. The manager's been all over this and allowing us to do and use whatever resources that we can use. And we're hitting this at 10,000 RPM.
Well, thank you as mayor, but also as a parent. Thank you very, very much, Luis and Theo.
I think it's magnificent that you guys are involved in this. And just wanted Conchita to please notice it for next Monday at 7 p.m.
correct.
So that
St. Agnes.
All the
more than
council
one of
members.
us can go, because I plan on
great.
being there for sure.
Great.
Okay?
Theo.
With regards to the dealers, do you think they're local or are they
Most definitely.
targeting?
Now they're getting it from somewhere, obviously, but they're targeting our kids. During that PTA meeting, I asked how many parents do not give their kids an allowance, and nobody raised their hand. And then I asked them how many parents actually take a look and ask their children where they're spending their money. And nobody raised their hand because they don't check. The money is out there. These kids have cash. And some of the suggestions would be as simple as giving them a debit card, credit card, so you could track where they're spending money. Dopers have yet to run the credit card system that I know of. And until we reach that level, cutting a cash flow is a very big deal here and could help us. But I could tell you that some of our own kids and some of our own residents are pushing dope out there. It's just a matter of us being able to capture that moment.
So-
And we're reaching out to all of our friends across the bay and whatever resources we can have to do that.
So in your reference to helping kids not have to go through the system but get rehabilitation, for those, what happens to their record? I mean, obviously,
For
that's
the
part of
kid who gets a
education,
civil
but-
citation because they had a joint of marijuana or a can of beer or whatnot, nothing happens to them at all, except they get an opportunity to be exposed. Their parents are now involved, and their parents have to get involved. I think that's the big component of this. And once they get that counseling through this magistrate, they have different conditions, and they will be put into certain programs and things of that nature. But there is no criminal connotation attached to that at all. And when they go through the jack, for somebody who we actually arrest for maybe selling a dime bag of marijuana or cocaine, if they go through the jack and if they're first-time offenders and they go through a program and they pass that program, the jack will seal that record and expunge it, and they won't have to worry about that. So,
That doesn't exactly happen, though.
that's the way it's supposed to happen.
It doesn't, but, well,
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean,
That
I
actually doesn't
applaud
That's supposed
all
to
of this.
happen.
I just,
it used to, not anymore.
I mean, the notion of, I mean, dealers are a different situation, but for a kid that's lost and bored and has a bad influence, I'd hate to see them not be able to get a job.
No, our intent is to help these kids. It's
Okay,
not to
right.
hurt them.
I understand the
in any
intent.
way.
I just don't know if the
and we're not
Florida,
s- and-
this is
and-
more of like a local state
And,
issue where
and
we don't
we'll
have
be good
control
over there.
sometimes.
We'll be
Okay.
good. I understand your
Okay.
concern, and that was our concern. That's why we tried to stress to the parents
Right.
that we're here to help. This is not the goon squad coming after their kids.
Right.
This is a very concerned group of professionals who want to help our community, and that's why we're doing this.
I appreciate that.
Theo, there is a civil citation where you don't get a criminal record, but anytime, anything. else,
Even as an adult,
Even as an adult, now they.
which the
extend-
county just introduced, and I'm bringing to you at the next council.
If you think it would be helpful to bring in someone like the public defender who has a presentation on all of this to inform parents, that might be an option.
I could reach out to Carlos, and if we think that's a viable option.
I think that's a great idea.
I think he would love to do
I
that.
think you would.
Okay? Any other questions?
I think
Eric has something to say?
Just one comment, because we have created a lot of fear. There are a tremendous amount of incredible families out here and tremendous kids, and there's a lot of good happening. And I don't want us to walk away from this tonight to create panic. And maybe we just got a handful of people that have a problem and we're gonna get them help. So I wanna reiterate, there's a lot of good stuff happening. We'll come together and we'll be back here next year with some different stats.
Next item, Madam Mayor, is public comments. We do have one speaker signed up.
We do. Mike Davy?
I thought you left.
All right, real quick, because I didn't want to talk about it up there. Body cameras, I think that we have to do this. I think it's really important because we need to protect our officers. We need to have, this is insurance for them so that they can show that what they're doing is acting as the vast majority, certainly all our people do in the right way. So I'm all for those. Also, EAB, I know the mayor and the vice mayor will be having meetings with the school district in the near future. I'm on the EAB. Brett Moss is also on the EAB. We would ask that you reach out to us and have some discussions with us about what we've been discussing. I think this group is really putting in some hard work, trying to coordinate with both schools that work with Key Biscayne. So we'd really appreciate if you guys could talk to us, get our input before you go out and make some asks. And we've had some interesting conversations about asks, and we'd like some input before you go forward. We think we could assist. Also, I know I believe the vice mayorship is up this week, and so I'm voting for that guy. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Mike.
Next item, Madam Mayor, is agenda approval, deferrals, additions, deletions, substitutions, withdrawals.
Sure. I'd like to add 2 items.
Under Mayor and Council?
Mayor and Council.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to appoint someone. There's an opening in the Education Advisory Board that I thought I had made the appointment, and it was an oversight, so I'd like to appoint that person. And the second discussion item is a discussion on civility and respect of this body. Yes.
I have some items.
Yes.
Okay, I want to add an item, an update of our Village Green field condition that Todd is here and he can talk about, and I'd like to also have an update on the community center expansion and know exactly where we are with that and when we're going off, and I think Todd can talk to that also. I want to, Councilmember London sent a message to Conchita, and she sent it to me, asking that I postpone the discussion on number 3, which is discussion on policy and procedures regarding CIP and other items, projects being worked on by council members, to a time when he's going to be here, because he's very interested in it. I'm willing to do that. I just want to make sure that all of us can be here also. So when is the next meeting?
Next week.
Next week? Can we all be here next week? Are we all going to be here next week? Is anybody here that's not going to be here next week?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay, so
Whichever you mean.
Defer to
can we
next week.
pass it on to next week, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so deferred. Okay.
All those in favor of the agenda changes?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is approval of the minutes of the October 13, 2015 regular council meeting.
Do you have a
Moved.
motion?
Move.
Second.
Kaplan?
Discussion? Any changes? Please call the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the October 27, 2015 zoning meeting.
Can I have a motion, please?
Yep, moved.
Second.
Any changes?
One ad, number 3, page 1 of 6. That meeting on the police parking lot was with Doug Yoder at WASD, with the manager.
Page 3.
Page 1 of 6, section 3, last line.
Oh, the gentleman that presented the bike awareness?
No, our meeting on the police parking lot was the manager, myself, and Doug Yoder at WASD.
Oh. Can you send me that name via
Yes.
email? Thank you. I'll add that to the minutes. So then on the minutes as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is a capital project authorizing resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, approving the purchase of a department-wide body-worn camera program, including one-day service, warranty, and unlimited storage, providing for a waiver of competitive bidding, providing for authorization, and providing for an effective date.
Moved. Second.
Okay, open for discussion. Mr. Manager, if you'd like to introduce us, and Chief Press is at the dais, is at the podium.
If I may, it is recommended that the Village Council consider the Police Department's request for the purchase of the departmental body-worn cameras comprehensive program from Taser International. The purpose of the request is to help improve the high-quality public service expected of our police officers and promote the perceived legitimacy and sense of procedural justice that residents and visitors of the village have for the police department. The funding source will be the Federal Asset Sharing Fund, not to exceed $41,243, plus $128 in shipping charges. Taser International provides a comprehensive body-worn program that includes a bumper-to-bumper warranty, one-day service, and unlimited secure storage space for camera replacement after 30 months. If approved, the cost of the Taser worn camera program will be funded by the Key Biscayne Police Department. Chief, anything to add?
Just quickly, we met today with Taser, and they went over all the administrative duties and the things that we need to know as an administration, policies, protections, safeguards to ensure that there is no violating the videos themselves and what they've built in to protect anybody from altering videos, et cetera, the cloud system. And it's a great product, and I think it will bring accountability across the board and do nothing but good. This cannot hurt, the Village of Key Biscayne. I strongly recommend we do.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, we've discussed this extensively, but we do have additional questions on the proposal before us. I'm going to have Mr. Dela Cruz speak and then Mr. Tainter.
I'm just wondering, why are we not doing competitive bidding on this?
Because we have reviewed several products, and the only one that actually has the cloud technology, which is the maximum protection for the evidence itself, is the TASER product.
I have to say that was my question as well. And Jim?
Yes, in the resolution on the fourth whereas, the last line, camera replacement is repeated. We need to take out one of those. But Chief, my question there is, if I read that whereas correctly, after 30 months, TASER automatically replaces
Correct.
all the cameras for free?
Yes, sir.
Mary Liz.
Yes.
I just want to say that, when this first came up in the budget workshop, there was a lot of questioning.
Thank you.
By the budget hearing, there was less questioning. And I think that the events that we just keep seeing over and over are making it more and more obvious how much this is needed.
I agree.
Including today's news.
Including today's news. I think we're ready to call the question.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the resolution to purchase body-worn camera program for the police department? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all
Motion
very
carries.
much.
Cancel, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, supporting the following legislative priorities for the year 2016, providing for an effective date.
Second.
This resolution is before you on the dais.
I don't have a copy of it. Thank you.
15-8? 15-8?
Who doesn't have a copy?
Luis?
I'm sorry.
Found one.
I got it, yes.
Okay, yeah, because we put one in front of everybody. It says agenda item 10B, tab 4.
I'm satisfied with the changes.
You're satisfied with the changes?
All right.
Yes.
I thought we were going to omit section 2 after the discussion that we had at the last meeting. Both Ed London and I felt it was not necessary, in there. And then on section 8, it says extend and fund a longer school year. I'm not sure, the kids are in there long enough. We got to give them some vacation time. So I was kind of questioning that because it also was in some documentation that we're going to discuss later on. And then section 9, the open carry gun bill, I don't know whether we need to get into that or not. I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons on all of this, and this is up to council to decide.
Fair enough. I have to say, at least my take on section 2 is, it was that there wasn't going to really, it was there for fluff and it was done, but, I'm good taking it out. I don't know if that's the consensus of council.
I'd leave it in. I mean, this came about because of a serious legislative push that was going to be deleterious in effect to property insurance rates in communities like ours.
Especially in South Florida.
Why take it out? I'm not sure I understand
Frank is correct. That they tried, it didn't work, and I think that whole subject has been dropped,
One hopes.
And therefore,
Could
why repeat it in this? I'd much rather replace section 2 with section 11, which I thought was really good, not section, section 6. I thought whoever wrote that,
That's the regionalism thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think that's right on target.
That is right on target.
Much more, I mean, if we're itemizing these in terms of importance, I would omit 2 and I'd put 6 right up there at the top
In the
of our
resolution, the sections are not really, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, they're not in order of importance. They're just sections.
You lose the interest of the reader, which is one reason to put things up front.
Okay. So
I think 6 is new,
So you
novel,
want to put,
it is well-written.
make section 6
No, I think it's right on
section 2?
point.
Sure.
So would you like to do that?
Yes,
Section
please,
2?
if we
If-
could, if we could. I
Sure.
think it really, I mean, we certainly are living that right now.
And
And
section,
it's a best practice.
and section 2?
Section 2, you know, the reason why we had included, again, it was our Dade delegation that had asked for that. They are championing this. And the sense that the discussion we had was, Ed thought it didn't matter anyway. And it was just, but, you know,
Boilerplate, but, yeah.
So do
Yes.
you want me to make that section 6 or other
Yes.
number?
Yes.
why don't we make that
That's fine.
section 6?
That's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good solution.
I mean, one reason to keep this, whether it's fluff or not, is to show we're paying attention, and we remember what they do, or try to do.
The two other things I mentioned was extending the, and funding a longer school year. You know, do we really want to do that?
You know, I think it's, right now, it's a best practice for education. Other states are doing it. It's not to do away with the summer, but maybe to extend another 2 weeks. And it's because there's something called a summer slide, where kids are just having a hard time catching up, and they have to do testing in the beginning of the year. So they have identified, and this was at the urgence of the school board, but as a parent, I know that this is, you know.
So
we
this is
studied
not
it.
an annual, take a school year round. It's only
No.
for a 2-week extension, is that basically?
Well, it would be for a longer school year, a slightly shorter summer is what they're requesting.
Okay.
And it helps for things like math and reading.
And what about the gun control?
I think if we can't speak to an open carry,
Yeah,
we should be out of business.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want to take that out under any circumstances. I think we need to speak to it, you know, I mean, you know, other places are, you know, I just read this afternoon that, where is it, another college is, you know, this is crazy. It's crazy, you know, so,
Texas,
I mean.
I think.
I think my question to council, did we want to take
Do
a
we,
stand on that?
do we want to take that political stand? If
certainly
it's
would.
not out in our
I
jurisdiction.
want to take that political stand. We've taken it
I
in
mean,
other
we don't owe
contexts.
it in NRA anything, so we're okay there, you know? and-
We both joined the Mayor's League, I think. I mean, this is crazy, and if we can't speak to this, I think we're punting.
I'm good with
The Wolf Council.
So we will be keeping it in. We did take the because it's dangerous out.
Which is still true.
So do we have a
But it's
motion on
obvious.
this? I'll move it if nobody's.
We do have a motion. It was moved by Councilmember Kelly and seconded by Councilmember Holloway.
Okay.
So, are we okay with it now, or do we need to make more changes?
We are okay with it.
Okay, so on the resolution as amended, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Council members, thank you very much. I think this is important. We will be sending it to our representatives. We'll also be giving it to our lobbyists, but also as priorities for our community. I think it reflects what the priorities of this community are, and I thank you for supporting that.
The next item, Madam Mayor, is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Key Biscayne, Florida, supporting the Miami-Dade School Board's legislative platform, providing for transmittal and for providing for an effective date.
Move.
Second.
Should I speak to this? We were contacted by the school board with their legislative priorities. The letter that we received is attached. We also have a summary of their whole legislative program for 2016. We were asked to support this either in whole or in part. There were certain comments that I got from community members and that I thought we should have a discussion about, and just about adopting it all or in part. What the resolution as it reads does not support the request of the school board to have authority or to have some control over the property appraiser. and have an auditing power over the property appraiser. I just thought from you know, that was not a good practice. I can tell you I got feedback from residents after the deal with the soccer stadium came up, where they are, the school board is willing to partner with the soccer executives so that they don't pay taxes. So I think it's ironic, and I'll tell you, many residents have reached out that they are willing to forego $12 million in taxes, but then they want to audit people's appraised values of their homes and question the authority of the property appraiser so that they can get increased taxes. So I just, you know, I think that's a discussion item for this council. Yes, Jim?
Yeah, Myra, that's exactly the area that I kind of focused on, because they had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 bullet points that the school board wanted in terms of our property appraiser. And I have no idea how Mr. Garcia feels, you know, in regards to this, because it really encroaches into his territory. I personally would take out that second bullet point that you have, require the property appraiser to furnish all appeals by June 30th of each year. What's been happening, and I think most of y'all have read this, you know, it's a cottage industry that's now grown up where people contact property owners and say, hey, you know, I can save you some money. I'm going to appeal it for you, you know, and they drag it out and they drag it out, and a June 30th date is just unrealistic and based on what's going on. I'd much rather use the first 3 of the changes that they're asking for, which includes proof of property owner consent, knowledge of an appeal, limit the appeals rescheduling to only 1 for a good cause, and payment of interest at market rate. The other 4, which Myra you know, discussed, I don't think, you know, we should support, you know, which includes that second item that you have. I think June 30th is an unrealistic date on what is happening and has been happening now here in Dade County. There's so many people that are appealing this because, you know, the promise that we'll be able to get it reduced, we'll save you some money, and they drag it on, and it takes, you know, a year. I can understand the problem.
I don't think that,
That's what it is.
I don't think that that has anything to do with it. I mean, the appealing of a particular value determination, I really don't believe that that has anything to do with the June 1st date, okay? Because basically you have to file an appeal by, I think it's September sometime, and then you get a date set by the board, after which, and you know, that cottage industry has existed for as long as I've been a lawyer, and that's more than 35 years. So I'm not sure that's changed anything, okay? I think that getting the property appraiser to establish values early is a good thing, you know, for people to know what their properties are going to be assessed at.
But
Yeah,
I don't think the property appraiser, you know, I'd love to have Mr. Garcia here say that he can get all this done by June 30th. It's impossible.
Do we want to defer that whole section until we speak to the property appraiser? And
Yeah, I think maybe we should hear from him,
adopt, adopt everything, I mean, just exclude the whole, is that the will of this council? I mean, I think that's problematic.
I'm caught a little ignorant on, I mean, this comes in a memo. I don't know what the policy here is. I think that the Senate bill includes these asks. I think the House bill doesn't, from what I understand. I think we're talking about apples and elephants in a way. I mean, if you contest the appraised value, you still pay the tax.
Yes, you do.
The entire state revenue system that depends on ad valorem requires this to work within a time frame, or the state budget isn't funded and education isn't funded and nothing is funded. I don't know necessarily why we're wading into that policy, but that, it seems to me, is an essential function in the counties and the state to be able to fund all these programs. So, you know, the school district is obviously asking for this, I assume, It's because they get underfunded year by year by year, and possibly one of the plausible explanations for why that is because of an interruption in the flow of the revenue or uncertainty in how much they're gonna collect. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
But Frank, that's why we budget, what, 95% of the estimate? Because we know that 5% perhaps will either be late or will be adjusted up or down, and.
That's how we budget.
Yeah.
Now, we are less dependent than the school district. They're completely dependent. And this doesn't work for the school district, I think, which is why they're asking for this. So,
Dr. Kelly?
Are you,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I don't remember ever having done this in prior years. Why are we doing this year?
We were asked by the school board to look at their legislative priorities and to support them. And as Frank said, there are two different bills, one introduced in the House and the other in the Senate, and they are different. I think this is an issue that makes the bills different. I think that the school board is overreaching. I think they're overreaching in what they're saying. I understand their intent, and I think there are better ways of going around it. But I think, to me, I read this as creating oversight over the property appraiser, and I'm not sure that we are having a big problem locally.
The one element that's not included in the Reso draft that I'm surprised doesn't exist anyway is the allowing the school district to audit. I would think they'd have that right to audit in a sunshine, a government that functions in the sunshine. The limiting appeals, rescheduling, it seems an impingement to me. I wouldn't think that that's an appropriate thing for us to speak to. Payment of interest at market rate, I think there's a statutorily prescribed rate. I don't think we need to speak to that. The appraiser should finish appeals by June 30. That's his mandate.
And that's why I left it, I think that that is their benchmark, that they've actually imposed a deadline.
I don't know.
Okay.
They should audit. I don't know why the state should audit if there's a variance on this next bullet. I wouldn't speak to that. And I don't think that it's up to us to speak to a hold harmless. But the rest of these elements just seem common sense to me. This is a strange ask.
Right.
I didn't feel comfortable with the ask.
We can say no.
I don't think we should spend a lot of time. I mean,
I'd approve this
the
with those-
legislature is not even gonna listen to the school board. And they certainly aren't gonna listen to the nuances that we're trying to eke out of this proclamation. And to me, it's,
Well, it'll be a big fight.
well, maybe, but
It'll be a big
Key
fight.
Biscayne's wishes don't really matter.
I'd approve this since the district asked us to, but I see it as I just suggested.
These are minutes of my life I'm not getting back.
Okay.
Why don't we just remove it for the entire section?
Is it important to them that we support this? I mean, we're going to be talking to them about some things,
I think it is important, but, Mike's point is right. It's not gonna make a drop in the ocean.
Well, but how about to the school board, the fact that we come out and support them?
Yeah, I think that means something to
Yeah,
them.
and I think we need to keep in mind that we're gonna be knocking on their doors.
I'd say, let's do it. I'd include 1, the first bullet point under VAB. I'd exclude 2, exclude 3,
Frank, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you're going too fast for me.
include 4. Okay, so include 1, exclude 2 and 3, include 4. I'd include 5, because I think that's just common sense. I'd exclude 6, exclude 7, and pass it.
So okay, so you would include the audit.
I think so. It seems right to me to audit, if there's a question.
I think the state could audit. I'm not sure that the school board should
Right,
be
exactly.
auditing.
School
I think
board,
the state can,
the school, well, the
I mean,
state
they are-
doesn't, that's the problem.
but I don't know that that the school board's the right entity to audit.
But they're getting.
They don't like getting audited themselves. In fact,
Yes, that's true.
they are even more creative in the past. In the past, they've had, they've been, so I'm not sure that,
And it's, the reason they want the audit is because they get short shrifted year after year after year. I
Well-
just observed that, I won't fight for it, I'd rather reach consensus and move past this. I think we ought to do it, and I won't fight for that if the will of the, my colleagues is not to go that far.
Well, if you take out your third one, we're right back to where, in Myra's thing, so why don't we just leave it the way Myra wrote it?
Doing, I don't know what that means.
So are we back to
Right, because
the original?
he asked for the bullet points 1, 4, and 5. I don't think they should be able to audit. I think Myra's got the right point there. That's a state function, so we're talking about 1 and 4, which happen to be the two that Myra.
1 and
had-
4,
1 and 4 that she had in her original.
and exclude everything else?
Yes,
Okay. You know,
So then the resolution stays as is.
yes.
Thank you.
I have no other comments.
For the clarification, are we ready to vote on this?
Please call the question.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution supporting the Miami-Dade School Board's legislative platform? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Madam Mayor, is reports and recommendations. Mayor and council members, calendaring of priority items. Mayor Lindsay.
Yes. I believe you have a handout for us. Thank you very much, Conchita.
Thank you. Yes.
Back in November of 2014, I initiated a priority workshop for village projects, and we ratified it last December 2nd, I believe. In the beginning of December, I think it was Mr. Cruz's first meeting, Mr. Dela Cruz's first meeting. And this is the status update of where we are. Mr. Manager, you prepared this as an update for us. If you could please explain it to us, but this was something that was discussed at our last meeting, and I just wanted to refresh everyone's recollection.
Yes, Madam Mayor. The council tackled two timeframes. One was a 12-month review, or not review, but a goal, and the other was the 24-month goal. So what you have on page 1 is you have what were at that time identified as the 12-month priorities, and you've got a status to each one of those. Going back to page 2, you've got the 24-month priorities, and again, the status of those. And then as things occur throughout the year, some of these projects needed, the council needs update on these projects, and that's what you see on the last page.
And okay, I'll go ahead and review the first 5 priorities which were identified for the first, for a 12-month period was 1, the community center expansion. That's been embarked on and construction will begin. We've been through extensive deliberations, public process, public input. We discussed whether it should be even a broader expansion. We went through a bidding process. We've been through a vetting process, and construction will start November 12th, which is
Thursday.
in 2 days. Okay, the stormwater improvements and repairs, again, that was identified as a priority item for this council. We have since then went out to bid, hired a consultant to address our master plan, our stormwater plan, and update it. We have gone through some extensive rehabbing and work. We had a stormwater drainage workshop that took place October 6th, and we are engineering the next phase of our stormwater plant.
If I may?
Yes.
That's important. The EAC, Mike, has gone and done his evaluation. I know that there have been conversations about how as we move forward, we still control the water that keeps us forming on the key. And the December 1st meeting is going to be a very important meeting on moving forward the next part of this struggle.
The third priority item was Calusa, the park pathway, which is a golf cart path. I think, Dr. Kelly, you were, you pushed that pretty strongly in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd still like to see it completed
And
on
that-
the Crandon Park side, but it's nice.
It is nice. The fourth item is something that has proven to be more of a discussion item with public participation than we anticipated, and it also is being hampered by the construction of the community center, and that is the landscaping and development of 530 as a public park. The dog park was our fifth item of priority, and the pre-bidding meeting took place today, and I believe you've got an update
Yes,
as to
ma'am.
what happened.
This was a mandatory pre-bid meeting, which means that if you didn't make this meeting, you're not allowed to continue the process. We had 16 potential bidders that appeared before this meeting this morning, so I am very optimistic that we'll be able to get some good material back to you.
Okay, excellent. Now for our priority items that were slated for 24-month process. The Virginia Key playing fields. It is currently pending Miami-Dade's RFP for remediation of the dump site. That is something that is beyond our control. There is a holdup with how it will be remediated, and it is currently, I believe, taking place. But they had to put it on a 16-month cycle, so it slowed us down. But there has been discussions with the city of Miami. The renovation of the library, again, there have been extensive discussions on this council about renovating the library and making the 21st century use for community spaces for learning and for exchange of ideas, along with additional parking on the site. There are ongoing discussions, and yes, this is slow, but we are diligently working on this. The third item is the purchase and the development of the police parking lot. Again, we are diligently working on that. Vice Mayor, if you'd like to discuss it, I think you gave us an update last week or 2 weeks ago about the meeting you had with WASI.
Yeah, very briefly, Doug Yoder, good guy, responsible. He's briefed, he's aware. We asked him for the parking lot. We had a very interesting discussion about the utility to the village and the uselessness for any other human being entity for any foreseeable purpose for all of time to come. I think he understood our points and was pre-briefed to receive them. It was a very good-spirited, amiable meeting. We're waiting to hear back from him. Solutions include possibly leasing the library for $1 a year to the library, and then having the library lease it to the village forever for $1 a year. Something like that. There's ways to do this.
Keep on fighting.
Well,
Yes.
we directed the manager to enter into a contract by December 31st. So have you found a way to reconcile this process with the direction that the council gave you?
Regarding the direction, what I did was I took with the vice mayor and I both contracts, as was pointed out almost a year ago. There is no really valid contract with the back parking lot. Our direction and our discussions was, here's the two contracts, this is what we would like to do. There was good things in the first contract, good things in the second. He was going to discuss it and get back with us. I'm on timeline right now. By December 1st, if we have not heard back from them, we'll go back down to the office. But I'm comfortable that we can get the basic timeline that you directed done. You would agree?
I would agree.
The next item that was on the 24-month priority list was Mashta Flats project. This has been Jim's baby for the last couple of years, and the permit process has been completed. Bids will be presented to council at our December 1st council meeting, so this is ahead of schedule. Beach restoration is our fifth item. As we've all discussed, this is a priority because our coastline is our first line of defense. Because of that, we took action a couple years back to make sure that we had open and valid permits on an ongoing basis so that we could renourish the beach as needed when we had either natural erosion or weather events that that affected that. We had Coastal do an assessment of our beaches a couple of months ago, and we had not met the threshold for renourishment. I know that that's changed in the last month or so, but we are scheduled to renourish in 2017. Again, this is ongoing monitoring so that we can act nimbly, and this we have established is the best way to go. In the meantime, we do continue going on a second track of doing a larger remediation, but that is a huge battle. So we are fighting this on two fronts. Okay, the burring of the power lines was our 6th item, and burring of the power lines is something that has been addressed by different councils. There have been cost-benefit analysis, and to date, there had not been a good solution. We feel, and we've all discussed as council, that the time may be right, and so we will be having a workshop on this item December 10th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss the benefits of this project and to direct our manager and our staff to take further action if that's our consensus. And number 7, the purchase of land. Our land acquisition committee continues to search for viable pieces of property. In the meantime, we are looking at and negotiating with the Presbyterian Church on a joint public project that would be for a lease, but may address some of the needs while still continuing and looking for other opportunities. And now we've got, in addition to those priority items, some other items that we, throughout the year, directed staff to work on. So they were add-ons, and one of them was parking issues that we've identified. We've conducted a mobility study, and we're waiting for the final report on that. We recently had the workshop. The second is the beach club and possible acquisition. We had an update today. The third is community center software that we've discussed throughout the year, discussed at the budget hearing, funded it. That's going to bid. The street maintenance, which we have improved roadways, crosswalks, sidewalks, traffic calming devices, street lighting, traffic circles, and we've replaced the street signs. We also have devised a way of having our neighbors, our residents come up and petition for calming devices, which has been incredibly helpful. The next is the Presbyterian Church that we've already discussed. We have our attorney preparing a response. Street signs have been completed. The stop sign portion will be completed by early March. Street lighting along Harbor is in process. And a list of all completed items for this year were the Village Green and the St. Agnes Field renovations, improvements to the K-8 center in terms of construction and upgrades to windows, flooring, bathrooms, ACs. Number 3 was completion of easement and public access to the beaches and public showers. 4th, additional golf cart parking spaces have been provided and constructed throughout the island. 6, replacement of gym equipment was completed. 7, we completed the improvements to the Village Green restrooms and extensive renovations. 8, Mast Academy building was completed, and the playing field. 9, there was completed demolition of the gazebo on the Village Green. 10, the community center basketball courts and aerobic studios were sanded and refinished. And the last was the needs assessment that we've been working on was actually completed and presented to this council. So I thought this,
Also,
yes.
the construction, I believe we got notices beginning on the flashing lights at
Yes.
Heather and Crandon, and that's not included in this, but.
Now, and another thing is the Safe Routes to School grant and that project will be, we went through that process. And the study and the grant. And
Tremendous accomplishment.
And so we've done that. This was incredibly productive. I think it is what this council is all about. I would propose that we continue with this and that we actually add an hour to our December first meeting. Start at 6 o'clock and do a little bit of a workshop so that we can all identify and continue on this course because it's working very well, if I have your consensus.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was good the last time and would be good to do again. I'm sorry, would you, I didn't mean to.
It's okay, go ahead.
You'll be next.
Would be for each of us to bring a list of 5, 1 year and 5, 24 months.
Perfect. I think that's.
Because
That's what
perhaps our priorities may have changed in the last year and the list needs to be updated.
That sounds great. Is it I'm sorry, Lucha, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
A couple of questions on these two, because on the Mashta Flats project, bids for what are we going to receive?
For the stakes,
No.
But there's only one bid.
Well, no. This has been a lengthy process because we actually had to go out to bid 3 times to get the proper bidding procedure accomplished and get 3 bidders. Number 2, what will be presented to you on the December 1st is the original project was for temporary types of, what's the word I'm looking for? There was the buoys on the stick, there was, these were temporary. What we have gone and done through the permitting with all permitting agencies is the permanent creosote telephone pole looking things, 10 of them, delineating our area with the proper signage so that the police department can enforce the no vessel zone that's on the 10 acres of what the village owns on Mashta Flats. So I just got through the bid process. I just got late last week the final recommendation from the bidding, from CSI who was doing the bidding. And I am willing to have a meeting with Councilmember Tainter, and then I'm going to make the presentation on the 1st of December. It's different than what we started to do.
Yeah, it's completely different than the last time we discussed this. The last time we discussed it, it was that we couldn't get 3 bids, and then we said, we only have 1 bid, and I said, well, buy it with the 1 bid. I mean, that's what we discussed here. Now we've got another, I guess we'll have to wait till December 1st. Another one of these things that just keeps going on and on. We need to get going,
Well, I think that's why we're doing this process, and I
Yeah.
think December 1st, and
Let's wait to see what happens December 1st.
Lucho, this has been a permitting odyssey where
It's
the
not a
state
permit.
has flip-flopped on, it has been. And there's a long history here, and the state has not been definitive and has been all over the place, and we've been working with the state on this.
When was a permit approved?
The last permit,
Yeah.
probably in the last 3 weeks.
So we will get that history, we'll get to the bottom of it. I appreciate your concern, but we will get this done. In the meantime, I look forward to discussing this with you all December 1st. And please bring your ideas and your priorities, and we will get something done.
One more thing. The Presbyterian Church, it says here, the village attorney is preparing a response to the latest proposal. Can we know what response, we haven't discussed this. What is it that we're responding to? Where are we, and in what direction is the village attorney getting and from whom? I'm not sure
Dr. Kelly, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, there's really only been an initial, very, very vague memorandum of understanding that went forth to the Presbyterian Church that basically said, hey, we're interested in your parking lot and your beachfront property. This is how we'd like to, this is the framework that we'd like to discuss it. And then after many months, they finally came back with a little bit more detailed response. So this kind of, right now, is in the status of the manager and his staff analyzing their response to see if they can put some hard numbers.
To bring to us, for us to then determine whether we want to go with it.
There's nothing to bring to us yet.
Right.
I don't think it's ready to be brought to you yet. It might be worthwhile, I think, to meet with the Presbyterian Church, rather than to try and negotiate this from the council level.
I agree. I
To-
think
to
that the
just-
manager should be doing that.
To
and-
just
and-
reach something that both sides could potentially agree on, and I'm not sure that's going to be possible, but if both sides could agree on it, then bring it to the council.
Yeah, it's just that what it says is preparing a response to the latest proposal. It seems like we're already negotiating.
Yeah, it
terms.
sounds like there's a lot more going on than there is.
Okay, and I think that's,
Is that a reasonable summary?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think you summarized it perfectly. Before I felt like we responded back to their draft lease, which is what they sent us, I asked the manager to convene a meeting with his staff, which I did. We've sat down, we've looked at what they've proposed, tried to see what's workable and not workable. And we're trying to put together what we think is now working almost back a little bit to a term sheet to see if we can agree upon the principal terms of what would be included, what kind of rents we're talking about, because, you know, we were anticipating minimal rent, if at all, because of the amount of capital improvements that we think we need to put in. They were seeking substantial rent in the area of about $180,000 a year. And so there's issues that the manager's office needs before he can make a recommendation to you to go forward with any of this. He needs to evaluate and see if there's even the possibility of a viable transaction. And if so, then to bring it here.
Right.
okay,
Okay.
Mr.
And then-
Tainter, and guys, let's try to focus. This was an update. It wasn't about to negotiate terms, but let's,
Yeah, but I
let's
think this
not lose
discussion is
direction.
important. I think it's important.
It's not on the agenda. I just want to
Isn't-
stay on point in terms of policy discussions
Okay.
about it. It's not. It was an update on all the items. Yes, Jim, and then Luis, but let's,
Well, I'd like to get a little further into this. I mean, what I think Lewis was alluding to is that all the way, as far as I knew, we were talking about playing fields with the Presbyterian Church. The waterfront property acquisition came about that Lewis and Ed and myself said, we didn't know anything about that. The mayor asked the clerk to look into the previous minutes to see if there was any mention of waterfront property. The clerk confirmed there was none. So,
correct.
you know, in those negotiations, you know, I don't think anybody's having problems with leasing, renting, wherever you want to do some of the Presbyterian Church for additional playing fields. We got into the waterfront property, we haven't had that discussion, and so I'm not sure, Steve, exactly, you know, what your limits are in that area, but clearly I think there's some of us that if we get into this waterfront property, we want to have a discussion. on it.
Absolutely.
we will
The
certainly
latest,
have a discussion.
The latest conversations with the manager's office are consistent with your comments. They don't see how that is going to be a viable lease, if you would, for that area. There's conflicting interest. He's heard everybody's concern about how useful that site is. And so that is not part of the proposed term sheet at the moment.
Okay, my only last comment is to be careful with what we do here, because it'll have a repercussion on the St. Agnes the rentals. So whatever you end up
Well,
negotiating.
it's precisely sort of the opposite. We have renewed the St. Agnes leases at a certain rental rate, which is really established sort of a fair market rate that we've prepared. And the amount proposed by the Presbyterian Church is 10 times the multiple.
This is inappropriate.
This is-
Right.
I don't think we should be talking dollar amounts. I don't think we should be talking specifics, and that's not what this was about.
That's-
I haven't
Okay.
certainly weighed
I'll
in.
put it on the agenda for the next meeting then.
But, and,
I think we need to talk about this, you know,
we don't have a term to talk about. I mean, it's.
I just want to make sure that we're careful with what we do, because St. Agnes is going to come and say, if you're paying these people this kind of money, make sure.
But
We're
your
on-
opportunity to be, the difference between negotiation and approval are two different.
It's just that these things shouldn't go on in secret. I'm sorry, I apologize. This is part of what my item was gonna be about today, which will be next week, and we'll talk about it, you know, I mean,
Listen,
I'm only one council member here, and I can only say whatever I think, and people will believe me or not believe me, or follow, or, you know, support me or not. Maybe after the next election, there'll be more people that do, you know. But I mean, I do have a very specific, feeling about the way things are going on here, and they're not being done right, so.
Mr. Dela
that's
Cruz,
all.
this isn't an agenda item. We're saying that we need to follow a process,
we'll do it next
okay?
week. Yeah, we'll put it
In the
next week.
meantime, Madam Clerk, if you could please look at the actual meetings, because it was discussed. It may not be reflected in the minutes, but we did discuss that this was it was raised, so,
In one of the minutes that I sent, waterfront was mentioned.
okay.
Yes.
That was under the Village Green report, by the way.
So let's go ahead, if you could find, I know that it was, I remember mentioning it, so I'd like to clarify
In the
that.
minutes, I can't remember which one of the minutes.
I'll
but
look,
it
I'll
said
try to figure it out.
waterfront. But I'll check that for
Okay.
you too.
Okay, thank you.
Just
I
for-
just would add, had former Mayor Kaplan been subjected to the type of scrutiny that you're envisioning for his negotiations with the school board, had he been forced to start bringing up dollar amounts.
I thought we weren't gonna talk about that.
Well, I've got to answer because the.
But let's talk about it next time.
No,
I'll
no,
put
no,
it
no,
on the
no.
agenda. Why, are we gonna talk about it or
Okay.
we're not? Because if
No,
we
no,
are,
no,
then.
We are
then
not
I'm
talking
talking-
about the item. He's
When I'm not talking about the item, I'm
behaviors.
talking philosophically, because the allegation was made that these negotiations were going on in secret, and that was bad. And my point is, before I was interrupted, that if Mayor Kaplan had been forced to go over each item in his negotiations with the school board, there would be no expanded Mass Academy with residents attending now. And one of the functions of individual council members is to go out and look at projects and talk to people and then bring them back to this council to vote up or vote down, but they don't have to have every single negotiation scrutinized or approved or every term approved during that process. It's a very important fundamental thing. We can't negotiate something as important as the Presbyterian Church, which is very sensitive. They're very sensitive. And if our goal is to get this done, the last thing we need to be doing is chastising them for, oh, well, the rent they asked is too high, this prematurely. It's not right. All you're doing is ensuring that this will never go forward. And if our standard from this point forward is that every negotiation that a council member embarks upon has to have all of its terms dissected before a proposal even gets here, well, we didn't used to get things done before, but we're never going to get anything done now. So if you want to have the discussion next week, let's have it, but just be sure that you're just taking one more step forward to making sure that that Presbyterian Church project doesn't get done.
May I respond,
Madam
please?
Clerk, if you could please
May I respond?
go on to the next no.
Okay, well, see, that's not right, because you just let him preach at me for 20 minutes, and don't get to respond. That's not right. That's not acceptable to me,
Could we please go forward?
you know? Okay, you can do whatever you want here. Maybe I should just go home, you know? I mean, if I'm not gonna be
Could
allowed
you
to
please
talk
go
whenever to be respond, he just sat there and screamed at me.
You are
basically.
out of order.
Okay, but can I please respond?
We are out of order. We will be discussing this there is an item on this.
Okay, but
Exactly.
look,
There
just
is
a
an
second.
item on this
You
exactly.
can't let a person talk to another person the way that he
He
just
was
talked to me
responding to
without
you,
me
Mr. Dela
responding.
Cruz. You are out of line. We will go on to the next item, please.
Just for clarification, Madam Mayor, for the December 1st workshop at 6 p.m., it will be a workshop on council priorities.
Priority
That's-
projects, yes.
Projects, okay, at 6 p.m. And then the regular council meeting at 7.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is status of rowing club, Mayor Lindsay.
Yes, I actually, we skipped over it at our last meeting to let everyone know The rowing club is, the access to the rowing club, their parking lot and the entrance to their facility is closed. There's construction being done on their parking lot by the National Marine Manufacturers Association. They're installing, or they're putting the foundations to do a beer garden for their event. And in the meantime, the rowing club is in peak season. They are practicing. The school board was kind enough to allow them to go access their property through the back by using the Mast Academy. But I just think that you all should know that the inconveniences and the closings have already started. And that's just in way of an update. Yes, Jim?
Myra, in your Miami Herald article today in the paper, you went even further and said that they are thinking about not renewing the lease for the rowing club. This is the city of Miami?
Well, Jim, you are right. And what's happened is the rowing club has been there for many, many years. They, at one point, had a long-term lease. It was reduced to a 5-year term lease. That just expired at the end of September. They have been working with the city in the hopes that they would have what they thought was an automatic extension for another 5 years. That new lease has not been provided to them. They are actually going month to month now, and they are not sure of what their future holds. They're extremely concerned. They are trying to act in good faith and negotiate with the city, but they are definitely concerned because certain promises that were made and certain, it just has not happened.
So in essence, they're putting a squeeze on the rowing club? The
They
city of Miami.
seem to, they seem to be. They seem to be.
That was a good
item.
article, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next item is a Councilmember De La Cruz, but he's in the back, so I'm gonna skip number 4, go to number 5, and when he gets back to the dais, I'll go to number
Sure.
4. So number 5, discussion of pursuing an interlocal agreement between the Village of Key Biscayne and Miami-Dade County for the installation of smart traffic lights on Crandon Boulevard. Mayor Lindsay.
Yes, this was, I actually have been looking at the Miami-Dade Commission agendas for the last couple of months, and I saw that a municipality entered into an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County to actually install, to make changes to their intersections and to their lighting. And I think that is an option that we have not pursued, that is worth pursuing in terms of fast-tracking what we are trying to do, which is to change our traffic lights. It worked for another municipality. Again, it's a new angle. I think we would maybe have to contribute and pay in, but I think it is worth pursuing because we are at a, we're just moving at a snail's pace. We're just not a priority. So if we were to change the terms, I think it's worth looking at.
I think it's a great idea. I think that those smart lights would be a tremendous help. And going, it's kind of like the analogous situation was Mast Academy.
That's,
If we can put a little money on the table, suddenly people are willing to work with us.
well, and we're going through the process, we're going through the chain of command,
Unfortunately.
but it is, we're starting at the bottom, and we're not
But
moving very
you know,
quickly. So let's
Our
amp it up.
Our residents want it.
Yep,
The mobility study wants it. And it's part of a multi-pronged plan of parking, transportation, lighting, all those things have to come together to make a measurable change in what our residents experience out there on a daily basis.
okay. So, Mr. Manager, if you could pursue that,
Yes, ma'am.
I know it's something
I
that,
think it's a great idea.
good.
I'll add this as a preliminary report back to you December 1st.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dela Cruz,
I'll
your
go
item?
back to number 4, update from Chief Press and Manager regarding Miami-Dade and the traffic light systems on Crandon Boulevard. Councilmember De La Cruz.
Chief, do you want to tell them more or less where we are with this?
Yes, sir, and it falls in line with your previous discussion. I spoke today with Frank Ira, who is the supervisor of the traffic light signalization in the county. And we discussed our current state of traffic signals here on the Key. What the county is currently trying to do is they're negotiating with Kimberly Horn to develop a central system so that any different types of technologies that are placed in intersections throughout the county will work within the central system of Miami-Dade traffic signals. That process in and of itself will take at least 6 months until they can create this infrastructure where they can have connectivity with all of these different types of systems, albeit a smart system, be it Wavetronics, things of that nature. When I talked to him about the village getting their own traffic system and what the county's attitude would be on that, he said the county would support that. However, it comes down to if we want synchronization, which is the idea of smart traffic lights, it has to work in concert with the county's system that they're negotiating with the Kimberly Group on right now. So we could, in essence, be ahead of the curve, put Wavetronic technology in all of our traffic signals. We've seen that it does have a positive effect at Key Colony. But each individual light would be working as an individual system, and it would just base itself on the amount of vehicles that are in that system at one time. That's the great thing about this technology. We're no longer going to be bound to the old county standards that say a green has to be 1:30 seconds, at max 1:40 seconds, and the yellow has to be X amount. The precautionary things will remain the same, but the technology will put us in a place where the traffic signals will actually read the amount of vehicles going through and will extend greens based on what they feel is actually traveling through. But the synchronization, which is our dream, which is what we all want, which they're doing their 2 beta test sites of I call it Useless 1, US 1, and also Kendall Drive, is to have a consistent flow of traffic all the way down. Yes, sir.
I understand how each light reads the traffic, but they're not networked.
Correct.
So we wouldn't be at the state of the art. But are they sufficiently along in their process that they could tell us which system could be networked, and could we network it on our own until they're ready to come on board, and then we tap into
Apparently, no, we cannot network it on our own.
Because
we're only 6 traffic lights. And to be real honest with you, we only really need 3 to be synced to make this village work, other than the fact that McIntyre will make you crazy. But if that has a technology that reads vehicles, that will self-serve. Right. We need Key Colony, we need Sonesta, and we need Harbor to be in sync. The way he explained it, this all depends, all of these systems depend on interconnectivity and the syncing with the Dade County brain trust, the electronic brain trust of the county traffic signalization program, because they're responsible for how these traffic signals work overall. And they will control those signals from their master base and
you know, it's just frustrating because it seems like we could control our own destiny here. And if they could just give us the parameters, we could do it. We could do it ourselves.
Well, we have a meeting set up.
And if we wait for them, you know, it's going to be.
I could tell you that you're correct, and that is frustrating. But we have a meeting set up on December 8th, I believe, with the county assistant manager that oversees this technology and things of that nature to talk specifically about that.
You can
And
say
I'm
her name.
hoping, Alina?
Chief, as we know, Crandon Boulevard is a county road, so we don't have much choice in the matter,
Well, we do, because the county is finally listening to entities that'll pay for their own.
Right.
It's a bona fide issue for them, and if other municipalities gave monetary support to these programs, the county simply has to say, here's the technology that you can go out and use, like they beat us up on the pedestrian lights. They were happy to have us pay for it, they just wouldn't approve but a certain technology to go there. That's where they hold everybody hostage, I guess, if you want to call it. But the reality of it is they're open to discussion. They're open to us paying for our own. If you put a Wavetronic system in each of our intersections right now, you would improve the way traffic flows and then initially get what you want. I'm not selling Wavetronics as the catch-all. There are those other systems like they're testing out on South Beach and things like that, which are the synchronized smart technology that you can build upon those systems. And you could talk about some of the things like passing through with fire rescue and police and extending the greens so that they can make it through and not create havoc while they're going through a city and things like that.
Well, they'll take our money, but, as they say. Just out of curiosity, Chief, I know we've been having some downs on the Crandon and Harbor intersection, that the lights seem to be down more than.
FP&L is having a problem with that entire line of condos and power sources, and it just doesn't affect that area. It goes into other areas of the county. They could not give us a why or wherewithal, so we just have to put cops out there and keep directing traffic until FP&L figures out why they're having these shorts in that area. Yes, ma'am.
This last time I was affected, my building was without lights for more than 12 hours.
Right.
And what they told us was that a branch from Key Colony had fallen on one of the electrical wires. And since it happened like at 6 o'clock at night, they couldn't get anybody to come and cut the tree, and that's why it took so long. And whenever my building goes out, that light goes out.
Chief, as long as I have you here, just 30 seconds.
No, please.
The other day, I came home at about 3 before St. Agnes got out. I think this is what was going on. And I was waiting at the light going south on Crandon right by Stephanos.
Right.
I must have seen, I'm not exaggerating, 30 cars that went around the Calusa Circle, came in, pulled into the La Coretta lot, and either went through the gas station or went through the 7-Eleven as their way of bypassing the stoplight, waiting to go south on Crandon. And my question is, do you know that's going on, and is that supposed to go on, and are we overlooking that because it just improves traffic flow, or is that?
No, we're first of all, it's illegal to traverse through a shopping center or any other area that's off-street to get around, and it's statutory, it's a state statute to violate that. We're not consistently looking at that because if you recall, we have a standing order that we're not allowed to be on that property, anywhere near that property in any way, shape, or form. So we would actually have to station a cop out there to observe it and another cop at the other end to snag them when they leave that property.
I'm not sure it's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a natural response to.
Well, the problem with that is you have vehicles that are traversing through areas where you're gonna have pedestrian traffic.
Well, there's no
and
question.
people on bikes
No
that go through there, and it's a danger waiting to happen. I'm surprised that the owners of the property haven't taken some action, but the previous owners of the property did. And they wouldn't allow any village vehicles, whether it was us, whether it was fire, whether it was code, to be on that property at all. They got a court order against us, so.
Why are so many people turning into that?
Yeah, they get frustrated at the lights and they
Our
make.
residents are not dumb.
They're not.
Frank, you wanted to weigh in?
I don't remember that standing direction, but if it's inconvenient for your force, we ought to do something about that. I'm not suggesting we go looking for something to enforce. I see the same thing that Mike does, but if it's inconvenient and you're obstructed in the performance of your duty because of a standing thing that goes back in time, we ought to overcome that. But what I really wanted to ask you, when you go to your meeting on December 8th, please try to come back with a briefing on why exactly we can't network 3 lights. I'd like to know the answer to that.
I mean, I
Agreed.
just think that if it's gonna be, if they make us use a light that they're ultimately gonna be able to connect to, we might
Right.
be able to talk to the vendor and say, you got a temporary bridge we can use until the county hooks up.
Yep.
And Steve, can you give me some guidance on?
Yeah,
Now that there's new ownership?
yes. I'm sure the new owners are very, very agreeable to having you perform whatever functions you need on that property.
Do we need any,
No, I think we should talk to them, but I don't think there's going to be a problem. They are extremely agreeable and cooperative, contrary to the prior owners.
would you possibly?
Yes, I'm happy to coordinate it.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Sir, good,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion on Channel 77 and live streaming council meetings in HD. Councilmember Holloway.
So I know this was added to our CIP 2 years ago, and it wasn't something that we added as a 12-month or 24-month priority. But I've asked Mike a couple times, specifically for YouTube, and I know there's been some challenges, but it seems like 2 years is a pretty flexible schedule. And I'm looking here on my iPad, and there's a link to watch channel 77 online, but
Good luck.
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's flash and
It-
may not get it on.
Yeah, and it's been that way for, we've talked about this. So I take responsibility in the sense that maybe I haven't nagged you enough, and I mean that not in a derogatory sense, but, it feels like, we come up with ideas, and I know there's a lot of angst here, so I'm not trying to project any of that. But I just, being more passive doesn't seem to get us results. So I'm just asking for an open discussion so that I'm not the only one, and maybe
Well,
we can get some updates.
let's start by letting him explain what he has been doing for the last year and a half on this.
Yeah, we've been going over just this whole revamp of Channel 77, including streaming video and stuff. What we're looking at is doing the indexing with the videos, where your agenda is actually attached to the video, and you can click on an agenda item, it takes you right exactly to the point of that meeting where it's at. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on as far as that goes. But to your point too, we established a village YouTube channel, and we're now, as of October, we're uploading the meetings now to make sure they're on YouTube as well.
Will that resolve the issue with Flash on
Yeah, well, it's YouTube.
as
so
well?
it-
I mean, like
yeah.
for live streaming? So if somebody's
The
at
live stream-
home,
The live stream will be resolved because when we go to our new hosted system where we have hosted VOD and hosted streaming, it's gonna come from a different provider that'll provide content that'll be viewable on all the different mobile devices.
is there an ETA for that, or?
We're just about at the point of making a final decision on what we're gonna do. We're going out next week to go look at one of the vendors, what they've done as far as their audio and visual stuff, their cameras and everything, just to make sure that we're good with that. We've looked at a couple proposals for the hosting of the video and the streaming, so we're right there. We want to try to get this to the point where when we have like the Christmas break or something like that, we can start getting stuff in and ready to go. So we're about ready to bring it forward.
I'll tell you, our live streaming is so bad that people are actually videotaping the live show and pirating the video and posting it on YouTube for other residents to watch. And I think you're aware of that. You
Well, that's what the
That's
impetus
what-
for this
yep.
was, is that, if we have residents that are volunteering their time to do this, and there's a technological solution, why, and we have the money and we've set it aside, why, it seems redundant and silly that a
Would you
resident would have
explain
to
to
do
council
that.
what you've been doing with the direction that you were given to spend the $150,000, talk to vendors, evaluate it, and bring back a recommendation? You seem
Correct,
to be
yeah.
missing that part of the presentation.
Well, we've gone through, we've looked at multiple vendors, looked at their solutions to revamp this whole place and do the video streaming. We just wanted to make sure, that everything we do is well spent with $150,000 and that it's gonna be a flagship, design, compared to what we've currently got. We're replacing all the analog cameras with digital cameras, high def cameras. So our video content will be high def, the stuff that we put on VOD and streaming. I think we still need to broadcast SD because I don't think Comcast broadcasts high def on their PEG channels. But it'll be a digital SD, which is going to be totally different than the analog stuff we've got now. It's going to look much, much better. And we're going to have good audio, and the mics are going to, pick you up no matter where you're sitting at the dais.
You say that like it's a good thing.
So yeah, it's a complete revamp,
Good.
including agenda management and everything. So
Great.
Looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
hopefully, maybe if you can give us dates or updates or, so.
This is a CIP program that will fall under the direction that was given to us regarding benchmarking, setting timelines, giving, for lack of a better word, benchmarks and milestones. This is one of those projects that once we get it moving forward, you will have that information.
yeah, and we're pretty much there. We've pretty much decided, where we want to be.
Great, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
that the 6 people who actually watch us have a better experience.
Yes. Or maybe 12 now.
Next item, appointment to Education Board, Mayor Lindsay.
Yes, this was an oversight. It was, I thought I had done this, but I had not. My appointment for the Education Advisory Board is Allison Ang Perez.
Allison? Perez?
Ang, E-N-G, Perez.
Thank you. Is it consensus of council?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
One request, and yes, with appointments, if we could get some prior notice of what you're proposing, would be appreciated.
Sure. I think this was actually something that was discussed. So yes.
I thought it was also.
It was an oversight on it just slipped through the cracks, but
Yeah.
I thought there was discussion beforehand. Otherwise, I totally agree.
It's been our procedure, and that's helpful. Thank you.
Next item is discussion on civility and respect of this body, Mayor Lindsay.
Yes, and I think we have some material. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Council members, due to the many, many comments that I've received from our residents who've been watching the meetings, and unfortunately in this case it's more than 6 or 12, I think we need to revisit what our role is here and what our responsibility is to this office and how we should be conducting ourselves. There have been instances in the last couple of months where unfortunately, we have been disrespectful to each other, to staff, to the public, and I understand that we are all very engaged. We are very passionate, but please, in the interest of really of the betterment of this council, of this committee, of this community, and of our own reputations, I am urging you to please conduct yourselves with respect, restraint, civility towards each other and towards our staff. It is very disappointing to have these type of comments come from our residents who value our service, who value what we do, and are, we're letting them down. More importantly, we're letting each other down and ourselves down. Dr. Kelly, you have a fabulous legacy you are leaving. You have been an outstanding council member. You have a year left, and I am asking for your support. You have always been an incredible addition to this council. Theo, you also are, I don't know if you will be running again or not. I hope that you do, but you are leaving quite a legacy, and I'm urging you to also assist with this matter in helping us all conduct ourselves in a way that is befitting of this council and this community. I have, just as a reminder of what our role is and how we should be conducting ourselves, I am giving you all Resolution 97-45. It was adopted by, I believe,
Mayor Festa.
Mayor Festa and
And that
maybe the
council.
third council, addressing these points. These are our guidelines. Please take them to heart. We are better than some of the behavior we've displayed in the last couple of months. I value everyone very much. I know that we are better than that, and I want to get a lot done in this council. We are doing extremely well. We are all, again, championing causes, passionate, but let's do so with civility, and let's do so with respect for each other and for this community. I just, I want to give you this reminder because I know that you all are very, very concerned about your legacy, and you all are so committed to this community that that's not the light that you want to be seen in. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is update.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes. Dr. Kelly.
I would start by apologizing to Councilman De La Cruz for my outburst earlier. That, I think passion gets the best of all of us, and my frustration about seeing what I think is a potential great asset for the community may be slipped away allowed me to become more emphatic than I should have. I do have the perspective, maybe more so than anybody else here, of how the council can work. And in my first 2 years on this council, I think I made Councilman De La Cruz look like a relatively tranquil man because I was so animated in my arguments with some of the council members back then. But I definitely have learned things about consensus and civility through this process. And just one other thing that I read a long time ago, and again, I'm not always consistent with it, but I think if we speak to the issue rather than to the person, that goes a long way towards maintaining more decorum. And it's something to remember, that rather than saying, that idea is bad, Councilman so-and-so, the idea should be that that's not a good idea. So just a passing thought.
That passing thought prompts me to tell you that I'd reread Robert's Rules of Order today. I actually did. Not everyone, but one of the important principles in Robert's Rules of Order, adopted years and years and years and years ago, is that it's always about the measure, it's never about the man. So your insight is rooted in something that is transmitted wisdom.
Thank you.
Next item.
Can I just add something, please?
Sure.
Okay, so I recognize that I am the one that's been here the least amount of time, and, you know, maybe that's a good thing, you know. I see it that way, but the most important part of everything that we do here is that I believe that everybody should be given the respect necessary to listen to their opinions, whether they agree with, whether you agree with them or not. And it's no secret that I happen to disagree with a lot of the things that have been done here within the past 4 or 5 years, and the way that they've been done. And I got elected with a promise to the people that elected me that I was going to try to change things. And I'm trying to change them, but at the same time, I need to make sure that whenever I have an opinion on something, that it's heard and that I'm not shut up. And that's my problem, that as soon as somebody tries to shut me up and not let me say whatever it is that I need to say, sometimes maybe I'm not as eloquent as you want me to be, but I think I have, you know, some good things to say every once in a while, and I think we need to allow everybody here to speak and to say whatever they need to say for as long as they need to say it. And I appreciate the apology from Mike, but I don't appreciate the fact that it went on and then I tried to respond and then I was shut up again. And that's not something that I believe is within the spirit of these things here, because number 13 speaks to it directly. It says the council meetings will be conducted in a businesslike yet open and friendly way so as to allow most efficient accomplishment of the village business without unnecessary formalities, while respecting the rights of each individual to express his or her opinion. I recognize my opinions are not going to be in line with the mayor's and a few of the other ones sometimes, mostly the mayor, but the fact of the matter is that I'm going to continue to give them. And I hope that I am given the opportunity to give my opinion whenever I feel like that I have to give it. That's it. You know, and I apologize to the extent that I may feel wronged sometimes and whatever, but you know, I'm only human, and it is what it is. So that's it. I just want to make sure that if I have something to say, that I'm given the opportunity to say it, and that I'm not put in a position where somebody is talking down to me and then not allowed to respond. That's it.
Vice Mayor?
I think that I'm going to bring back an update to this. I think we need it. There's some other elements that weren't spoken to in 1997 that we probably have learned. And I'll bring that forward, but it occurs to me just to mention, in my experience here and my preoccupation with good process and my often repeated notion that our success very substantially is correlated to good process. I don't think that I can think of many occasions where we have had a breakdown in decorum because of a substantive disagreement. What we are talking about is the manner in which we express ourselves, not whether or not we agree on given issues. And we must improve on this, because right now, in this past 12-month period, we have deviated very substantially from a very high bar. We get a lot of credit in the county for the comportment and the quality of our deliberations, and we are not hitting it out of the park like we are capable of doing. I'll bring back some suggestions, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Dr. Kelly, and then I also would like
Just and again, an observation, but there should be a pretty low bar to allow council members to weigh in on with their opinions. I think everybody deserves to hear what deserves to say what they feel they need to say. There is a role, and I think, Frank, you probably know this as well as anyone, for the mayor to steer a discussion and keep it within the boundaries of what the original item was, because otherwise, we all have opinions that can leapfrog from one thing to another and go on forever. And so at some points, discussion does need to be limited, opinions do need to be limited to be efficient as a body. Finding that point is an art as much as it is of a
Yes, sir.
science, but we need to be cognizant that every opinion can't be made, and sometimes you just gotta hold back because of the desire to get to the end of the agenda.
That
which
is right.
Can be a problem. So
is right.
there's, you gotta balance a couple different priorities
That is,
as you run a meeting.
that is absolutely correct.
Well, listen, and as chair, I follows Robert's rules, and that is what guides the process. It is a process that works. It is the process that we adopted as this body and that we follow. And that provides for lively, thoughtful discussion from every member of this council, respect for each member of this council, but also bringing things to an end when we have a discussion. And I have to say, my observation is sometimes it's not about the item, but it's the last word or one up from many of us. And there's no room, that's not part of the process. That's not part of the process. And I just urge everyone to just be cognizant of this. Jim?
Since I'm the oldest person here on the council tonight, Ed's not here. Age brings wisdom. And Dr. Kelly, I enjoyed your comment that when you started out on the council almost 7 years ago, you were into everything, And now as you're sunsetting into your 8th year, you realize that, hey, you're a little more wiser, I guess you could say. And I think that the longer you're on the council, the better we become in handling these matters. And I think clearly we can do better than we've been doing, and hopefully we will. So I think that could perhaps end the discussion tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item, update on Village Greenfield condition. Councilmember De La Cruz.
Todd, you want to come up and, okay, so the issue here is that our brand-new fields are having some problems, especially in the North Village green field is the one that's most affected, but it's not the only one. It's the South Field is also having some issues. Todd has been very busy trying. I mean, this is his baby, so he's doing everything he possibly can to reach the bottom of it. I'm helping him as much as I can, but we also have our consultant, Mr. Busey, Phil Busey, who Todd has brought in order to help try to figure out what the issues are. I don't believe that they have come to a consensus between Stantec, Green Source, Mr. Busey, those are the people that are involved here, regarding what's causing the dryness in the certain areas of the North Field and some lesser dryness in the South Field. But it is concerning, in particular because these fields were just built. I mean, they haven't even been used for that matter. So I wanted to bring it up because it is an issue. Todd's working hard at it. Our experts are all trying to make headway. I've spoken to Steve about it also because, depending on what the bottom line is, it may or may not be a legal issue. And we're just hoping that it does get handled with the last thing that they came up with today when you met, and hopefully it'll all go away. But I want everybody here to be aware of what's going on and what a difficult issue we're dealing with right now.
I mean, this is pretty disappointing. I mean, these are not areas that have been overused, which was our big fear. And I expected at the very least for our, how many $100,000 investment, that we would start out with a green field, which apparently we're not.
That's right.
Have we analyzed the irrigation system?
Yes, we have. If you saw last Friday, Phil Busey was out there running every single head with buckets, counting every single range, every single, where the drop falls, where it doesn't fall. He had some recommendations on changing some nozzle sizes, but there was no area that was not receiving proper irrigation, and there was no area definitely that had been damaged that was due to irrigation. It's, but like Councilmember De La Cruz said, we had a walkthrough today with Green Source and Sean Compel from Stantec. We visited all the sites. The only site that has us concerned is the Village Green, and even greater concern is the Village Green North. Then we conducted a conference call with Phil Busey and David Nardone, who you remember reported to you originally, discussed as a group what we're witnessing and what would be the best approach. And all parties involved on their side agreed to the approach that I've just handed out to you after our meeting today, that they recommend we proceed, and that's how we're going to proceed. We're waiting to finalize a schedule with the maintenance company. The area of specific concern has been closed since we noticed the issue, and we have not returned play to that area. I think with one exception on one Sunday, just because we had a scheduling conflict, but other than that, nobody's touched that area. And we're willing to do whatever required to get that fixed.
Dr. Kelly?
Have we paid and signed off on the contractor for this, or is this something that's covered under some sort of warranty, or are we going to have to pay additional money to get these last remaining areas up to snuff?
We've paid the contractor as per terms of the agreement after completion. It's the same contractor that built the field that's maintaining it. So from what I understand, the only element that may be of an additional cost is the sprigging, but we just finished our meeting today at 4 o'clock. So he's putting together a deliverable and a timeline, and I'll have that hopefully tomorrow mid-afternoon so I could speak.
I would urge them in the strongest possible terms that this ought to be something that's covered by our initial investment.
Yes, sir.
This is,
I think in fact, the reason why we agreed to have them maintain the field and not go to bid was because we were under the impression it was under warranty, and so that there would not be a gap in service or maintenance, and so that they would be held responsible. We hired them to maintain. So I echo what you are saying.
I just don't, again, not an attorney, but I can't imagine a contract that would allow this problem to not be a covered issue.
The memory is correct. The insurance policy, if you will, is they prescribed a course of action, they prescribed a product, and the decision to enable them to perform the service and maintenance was to ensure that it worked.
Yep.
So I think you got that.
John, wasn't there a holdback on that contract?
No.
No? What about on the maintenance fee? We're paying them on a monthly basis?
Yes, sir.
We're paying two fees. We're paying one to Stantec in order to supervise the maintenance for the first 6 months or whatever, and we're paying the contractor to do the actual work. So the people that designed and built are there. They're the ones that have to figure this out, and as I told Todd, I said he's got to be real close with our expert, because, and I had a conversation with our expert, and I told him, I said, look, you're the only guy that's totally on our side. We needed to know from you. This guy is a professor at the University of Florida, a very well-known guy, our consultant, and hopefully he'll be able to, after he allows them the opportunity to fix the problem, come to us and tell us whether there's a design issue or a construction issue.
Well, if they come back to us with an additional bill, we'll have that discussion.
Oh, of course.
Next item, please.
Next item is update on community center expansion, also Councilmember De La Cruz.
Well, we heard in this other schedule that we saw that we're going forward
Yes, sir.
in a couple of days, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so that's what I wanted to know.
I'm just gonna-
Next,
Does the fencing go back up?
Yes, sir. That's visual number one.
how much they do.
can I go to the next item?
Yes, please.
The next item is the village clerk's report. It's that time of the year where we need to elect our vice mayor pursuant to section 2.02, subsection B of the village charter. It would be appropriate, Madam Mayor, for you to open the floor for nominations
I
at this
guess
time.
I would like to open the floor for nominations. Do I have any?
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Yes, please.
It's been our protocol over the years to cycle this among our members, this charter responsibility, which I have enjoyed fulfilling in this past term, this past year. It's time to pass it along. We've endeavored to recognize senior service. For me, at this point in time, the senior service that I would like to recognize and nominate in response to is Jim Tainter. Jim is entering his 6th year on council. He is an obviously dedicated public servant who seeks to do a great job always. I work with Jim a lot on our various initiatives outside of the dais. He's always prepared. He's always interested. He studies the issues. I find him to be a thoughtful and consistently thoughtful person. And moreover, apropos of our earlier conversation this evening, Jim is a person of steady temperament and good comportment, without fail, always. And so I believe that Jim, as vice mayor, will honor our council and the village as his predecessors have done. So I nominate Jim.
Thank you.
Second. Councilman De La Cruz, second.
Any other nominations?
Okay, close the floor.
I'm closing the floor for nominations. If you could please.
So all those in favor of nominating Councilmember Jim Tainter as our next vice mayor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much, and Frank, thank you for your kind comments.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for deserving them.
The next item, Madam Mayor, is
That's what I like to see.
proposed 2016 Village Council meeting schedule. I took into consideration all the different holidays. So I'm bringing this to see if you approve it tonight, or if you want an extra week, I can bring it back next week. But,
I think we can act on it now unless anyone has an issue. Let's get it done.
So if everyone is in favor of my proposed council meeting schedule?
Do I need a motion to
When's the
approve?
election? Is that,
The election is, hold on just a second. I think it's November, it's late this year.
6 or 8?
November 8th.
8, yeah.
Hold on just a sec. It's November 8th, and nowadays they don't give the results immediately because they have to wait for the overseas, ballots and all that, so that's why I had to push the council meeting. I'm planning to hold the installation ceremony on November the 17th, which is a Thursday. Unless you want to have a meeting on November 1st prior to the election, and then the second meeting after the election. It's up to you.
This looks good.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Nope.
We can always change it if necessary.
Like I have it November 1st. Oh, I have it that way.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
I was wondering why you were saying that.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at it. Okay, so then consensus of
23.
Dr. Kelly? Were you saying something about the calendar?
I'm saying you've done a wonderful job, and I love the schedule.
Okay, so consensus of council to approve. Thank you very much. We go now to the village manager's report. Motion to authorize the manager to issue requests for proposals for the community center concession.
Mayor and council, under tab 9, you have in front of you a request for proposals for a community center food and beverage concession. This has been drafted. If you have any questions, any suggestions or changes, I'd like to deal with them now because I would like to put this out to the mail and get this RFP out as quickly as possible. Having that, then we'll fill in the dates, and like I say, we'll have this out in the mail by the time we come back on Friday. Thank you.
Looks good to me. Yes, Mr. Tainter.
Do you want a discussion on this?
Do you?
I have a couple of comments.
I'll get caught up.
No, just out of curiosity, do you know what the annual revenue is from that concession?
No. Yes.
And the reason I'm asking that is, we're doing a flat monthly amount. Should we perhaps go to a percentage like a lot of municipalities do with concessionaires?
Yeah, this was, if you recall originally, when we were building the community center, we did a national survey, and most people that ran their own concession were not profitable, it cost them money. So that's why we wanted to do the rental. This contract does increase the rental rate, but, you'd have to, I guess you'd have to manage their daily cash receipts and checks to figure out exactly what they made to do a percentage, because the other ones that we do percentages on, we take the money and then we pay it out. So this would be the opposite.
Right.
We'd have to trust them on their accounting and the information that they give us. For us, it's very straightforward, very simple. I think it works for both parties as a rental.
Okay, so you think the $800 is a fair amount for both parties?
I think so. I mean, it's inexpensive Key Biscayne square footage, but it's very limited in what you could do there.
You realize I'm asking these questions because Ed's not here.
Yeah, because he would do the square footage average in 2 seconds and tell me that I was
Thank you.
way under market, but it's a limited space. I think more importantly, we'd like to provide a higher level of service. And the issue has come up with the menu offerings, and I think we can improve there.
Frank, you wanted to add to that?
The thing that jumped at me is item 1.6, which has to do with menu. It seems awfully important to serve nutritious food.
Mhm.
Where did this come from? And is this the right answer as far as the percentages of fat and saturated sugars and whatnot?
We wanted something, because what would happen is the original menu that we were provided has changed dramatically. So we wanted something that we could point at in a contract to maintain a certain level. So we worked with the attorneys on this, on something that we could obviously judge the recipients on and then hold them to in the future. So we didn't have what we have now, which is a drastically changed from the original proposal.
It started like a juice bar, and now it's like a candy shop.
And we understand that that's more, that for a business, that's very attractive. You're gonna move a lot of candy in the community center, but that doesn't fit our overall objective in the community center. So we've seen it happen twice, so we know there's an opportunity in the future for it to happen, and we'd like to address it.
If I could just ask, are you going out with this tomorrow? I ask because we got a briefing at the Regional Planning Council the other day on a proposition of converting convenience stores in underserved neighborhoods where they don't have supermarkets, and they actually subsidize healthy foods.
Mm-hmm.
And they have standards for what those healthy foods are. I could find out by 10 o'clock in the morning what they are.
We can hold off on this.
Yeah.
Back next Tuesday.
I mean, I don't have a
I'll start
specific
working on the schedule, so you're not gonna be delaying this process at all.
These kids are gonna hate you, Frank.
I know. I know. There go the Twinkies. It's one of those, don't do as you do as you preach things. If we can get it better, so much
Absolutely.
the better.
Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we need a motion, right? That's where you requested a motion to authorize the manager to issue.
I think we're holding off, or we
We can, why don't we authorize it?
can
and-
authorize it with a
We don't need
tweak.
to review it again.
So,
Yeah, sure,
do we have a motion and a second on
Motion,
that?
Second.
To authorize, okay. Call the question,
Councilmember
please.
Kelly and who was? and-
Theo?
And Thea. You don't want your name on that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. That concludes this evening's agenda.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a, excellent, meeting adjourned, thank you.